Live streaming is on.
Good. Okay, and then just to be sure, we will see YouTube. It'll be a little bit delayed, but we'll go home. We'll go here. We're back. Great. There's our trailer. Yeah, we know we're in the right. So we're good, and we can continue. And I will do this. Sorry about that, but we're back, and they can watch the rest of the class on the recording. So there's lots of options here. And let me just do the final setting. People follow me, moderator, everybody follows me. That way I can control the view. Good. Okay, so Ethan, everything good? Just give me a final yes, okay? Because then I'm going to carry on with the next chapter. You can hear me, right? Yep, good. Okay, so here we go, because you're going to disappear from the wall. I'm going to bring this in on presenter view, and then I can really, lovely. So now we are where we should have been at 11:15 or 11:20, if it's a normal. Next week, hopefully it will be a normal class. Okay, so let me go here and start with our giant. Well, there is Thucydides, who Thucydides, Thucydides, Dides. When I talk about the giants on whose shoulders we stand, what's that? You can see written underneath. Exactly. That's why I picked this slide, because I was hoping it would register. Excellent. You can see that. Let me just make sure our audio is good. Yep. Okay. I just want to say one final thing to the Cosmos, because they've disappeared, and I have to, for the Cosmos, Ethan or anybody, we will not see you or the live chat now. Okay, so if there's a problem, please jump on your microphone and tell us. That way we will hear you. Or could you send an email to one of the students here? I'll get their email. You know what? It's just too much. You have to leave the class and you'll watch the rest on the recording, okay? That's the best I can do today for all of you in the Cosmos. If we lose you, Ethan, okay? Otherwise, I'm going to carry on. Okay, good. So let me come back and over here. So every lecture, every new chapter, we're beginning a new chapter called Awakenings of Power. I want to begin with another giant on whose shoulders we stand. And the giant is Thucydides. He is considered, along with Herodotus, another Greek historian, as the fathers of history, modern history, as we know it today. I actually have their writings right here, Herodotus and Thucydides, from the Great Books series, which I have at home, okay? Now, I just want to mention why he's so important is that, I need to bring the map back, okay? Forget it, it's too much. You just have to imagine it. Thucydides was a student of Herodotus. They are both considered the originators of history as we know it today, which is that a person, a human, is writing about events in a kind of objective way, or has a story to tell about what really happened, almost like journalists or reporters. And in Thucydides' case, he lived through the events that I'm going to be telling you about, and he writes about them as well. Herodotus, not completely. Herodotus, though, wrote an account of the wars between the Greeks and the Persians, who were the mortal enemies of the Greeks. And I will put this into geographic perspective in a moment. But Thucydides was the one who was really writing at that moment when the Greek world was changing, when democracy was kind of dying. And I don't want to belabor this point, but there are many analysts today who believe that we are in 2025 and in the early part of the third millennium experiencing something similar. That, for example, the American Empire, which was formed in officially 1796 after the Revolution, and it was was a model for freer thinking, is now descending into the beginnings of a dictatorship. And I will, from time to time, talk about this, but I will wait a bit until later as we get to the beginnings of the American Empire. And I'm going to be bringing a very important writer in at that time, another giant, Alexis de Tocqueville, who wrote a book in the 1800s called Democracy in America. And it was at that time, just let me just say briefly, because I will be talking about this more. He was a Frenchman who had experienced the French Revolution that came with a lot of great expectation, but ended with Napoleon, who was an emperor. In other words, the French experienced a democratic revolution that then turned into a kind of dictatorship. And Alexis de Tocqueville wanted to understand what was happening over in the United States that had also gone through its revolution. Might they end up in the same place as the French were, or did they have something different? And so he spent many months in the United States with his friend, traveling, again, like a journalist, and wrote a classic book of political science and philosophy called Democracy in America, in which he tried to understand what is special about the United States, and could it be that they have brought to the human story something that is going to last a long time. And his conclusion was, yes, but, and I will tell you more about the but later, but he said that democracy, as Thucydides has said, and Herodotus and others, can end. Freedom that we've won for ourselves can be replaced by the strong men. And he said that the democracy in America has a very unique vulnerability to what he calls demagoguery or despotism. A demagogue is a person who emerges, a leader, who plays on the passions and fears of the people and does not speak a truth. All he does, and he's always a man, generally speaking, is he plays to the crowd. He plays to the mob. And eventually, the mob will win. Well, I don't want to belabor this, but we've seen this unfold in the last few years in the United States. And so let's see more about what exactly happened in Greece with this experiment in democracy, this awakening for humanity to this new kind of power, which is that we could rule ourselves. The art of self-government, as it's called. We would not need a king or a queen or an emperor. We could do it ourselves. This is called awakenings of power. It's awakening to a new way of being, a new way of organizing our societies, a new way of understanding what our purpose is here on this planet, a new way of answering the question, answering the question, well, you have all these humans together, living together in these growing cities. Who rules? How do you organize these people? What's the system of government going to be? What's the best way of living together in peace so that we can grow and prosper? These are deep philosophical questions, and the Greeks, for a brief period of time, answered it with something like, we the people. We the people. Something like that. When we unleash a power of freer thinking, when we start to think about how science and technology can take us much further than religion can, when we start to believe in what we can invent instead of worshiping and obeying the powerful figure who we think we should serve, when we believe we can just serve ourselves and dream for ourselves, well, watch what starts to happen. Alfred North Whitehead, another great philosopher and world historian of the 20th century, wrote Adventures of Ideas. I will bring in that book if I can. He wrote something about human history. He too, like William McNeill and John McNeill and the others that I speak of, when he looked back on the human story, he came to this conclusion. The world dreams of things to come, and then in due season arouses itself to their realization. The world dreams of things to come, and then in due season arouses itself to the realization. I'm going to show you one more slide, and then we're going to stop, and I'll end it with a bit of a cliffhanger today, because we're almost out of time. We humans have had a dream. And whether that dream has been in Mesopotamia, in those early city-states, whether it was in China, in the early Chinese societies, whether it was in sub-Saharan Africa, past the Great Desert there, deep in Africa, where there was a lot more natural obstacles to face, to develop, or in the Americas, in any part of the world, to be human. To be human means to dream. Well, what do we dream of? What do we want? What do we really want? What do each of you really want? Justice, virtue, friendship, love, all of these things are important, but each and every one of us, I believe, and many historians believe, want to be free. We want our minds to be free, to think the way we want, to not have somebody with their thumb in our forehead saying, this is what you must believe, or if you choose to follow me, I will give you what you want. No, what we want is to be responsible and free and choose for ourselves. We want to be grown-ups. We don't want to be children. Ron? Well, it's a great, great question. Ron, can you write that on the board? Just why would we choose as why would I'm going to show you one figure who emerges. We're not even sure he existed, but he did something remarkable in the human story. Abraham. Abraham was the first human, we believe, and we're not even sure he entirely existed. who said, there is no God on this earth. There is no divine human being. There are no multiple gods. There's no God of the moon, God of the sun, God of the good harvest, God of rain, God of snow, God of water. It's just one God looking out over all of us. And he brought us the idea of God, a single God, about 2,500 years ago. His idea, whether he existed or not, doesn't matter. The idea entered the story. That idea will become the basis, first, of Judaism. It will become the basis of Christianity, which will grow out of Judaism. And Jesus was a Jew, and then he was a rebel. 600 years after that, in the Saudi Arabian Peninsula, Muhammad will emerge, and he will unite the people of the Saudi Arabian Peninsula and the cities into Islam with a new faith based on the idea of one God, Allah, Allah, one God. But that's not a new idea. For all the Muslims who say it is, read your history. Abraham is the patriarch of all of these three great monotheistic religions. We could talk about why do the Jews and the Christians and the Muslims fight so much among themselves. That's something else. But they're the same family. They come from the same place. Abraham had, and I will say this finally, something that we all have that is remarkable: a free moral conscience. He decided. We decided, we're not even sure he existed, to leave the city-state of Ur, or Uruk, where there was a god king, and to journey across Mesopotamia, up north to Haran, then down into eventually what would become Jerusalem, to form a new home for humans, where they will worship no god king, but just a God. That was a remarkable moment in human history when we humans made the break from the God king and decided, nope, there's something else that we are going to pray to and love, and we will be loved in return. And what is that thing in us that wants that freedom to do something new? We'll start to look at that more next week, okay? But we, through Abraham and others, are now awakening to a new power. Okay? Thanks for being patient with all the tech nonsense. And Ron, you can just leave it there. See you next week. We'll try and troubleshoot this even better, okay? Why would we choose otherwise? Slaves of the gods, Ron. Fear. 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 Yeah, you too. I'm going to write that down. It's a good question. Yeah. Thanks, Piyush, or Mr. Immortal. Thanks. Great. See you next week, okay? I'm going to turn off my microphone and let's see what's happening in the cosmos. Okay. See you, Ethan. Thanks. Good. Okay, so I'm going to leave that there. I'm not going to touch anything.